Temperature, please. How can we help?
Hiya, it's Mrs. Walker. I'm just ringing to report my 17-year-old daughter missing.
Okay, I'll get a report for you there. How long has she been missing?
Well, she ran away on Saturday lunchtime, but I knew where she was until she started messaging like 1 a.m.
In the summer of 2020, 17-year-old Bernadette Walker vanished without a trace.
Just a tragic case, really. We still don't know what happened to Bernadette. The fact that she was a 17-year-old girl, 17-year-olds these days are never without their phones or social media. And like I say, for that just to stop all of a sudden from the time that her stepfather goes and picks her up and for her not to be seen again, I think that's just what swayed it, really.
Her parents told everyone she ran away, but behind the lies they hid a chilling secret. Bernadette Walker was born on 30th December 2022. She was 17 years old and was from Peterborough, England. She was creative, talented and passionate about photography and also loved expressing herself through her art. Unlike other teenagers, she was also active on social media. Bernadette loved fashion and frequently changed her bright-coloured hair. She also had plans for a bright future, which would be dedicated to photography. She lived with her mother Sarah Walker and stepfather Scott Walker, whom she lovingly referred to as Dad and took his last name, even though they were not biologically related. Bernadette was part of a large blended family with 9 siblings. Her family and friends affectionately called her B. Although B was an introvert and naturally shy, she was outgoing online where she formed meaningful connections with friends through social media. She had a special love for animals, particularly dogs, and cherished spending time with them. By July 2018, B's mother and stepfather's relationship had ended. However, despite their struggles, they continued to live under the same roof, raising their children together. During this time, her mother Sarah began a new relationship, but B's life would soon take a tragic turn. On July 17, 2020, following an argument with her mother, B stayed at her stepfather's parents' house in Peterborough. She had a close relationship with Scott's parents, whom she considered her grandparents. Hoping she had cooled off, the next morning on July the 18th, Scott picked her up. Scott had planned to take her to McDonald's on the way home, but B said she didn't want anything. During the journey, the pair got into another argument after he asked her to apologise to her mother. When he pulled over to roll a cigarette, B told him she wasn't going back home. She got out of the car and ran into a nearby alleyway. Scott stated that he waited briefly for her to return but drove off when she didn't come back, assuming she needed time to calm down. This was the last time she was seen. Scott's account of her running away would later unravel under scrutiny as police uncovered a chilling series of events that pointed to a much darker truth. B was reported missing 3 days later at 3 a.m. in the morning by her mother. According to Sarah and her ex, Scott, they delayed reporting a disappearance because she had run away before and they thought she would return home on her own. However, this delay became a critical point in the investigation. The following is a recording of the call B's mother made to the Cambridgeshire police.
Temperature, please. How can we help?
Hiya, it's Mrs. Walker. I'm just ringing to report my 17-year-old daughter missing.
Okay, I'll get a report for you there. How long has she been missing?
Well, she ran away on Saturday lunchtime, but I knew where she was until she started messaging like 1 a.m. Yesterday morning.
Right. So she stopped messaging at 1 a.m. yesterday morning.
Yeah, and I thought I gave her the day to sort of stew it out a bit because it's not the first time she's done it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I've become aware of the fact that she's not where she told us she was. So obviously, that's why I'm phoning now.
No, that's fine. What we can do then for you is we can get that raised. Bear with me a second and we'll start raising the missing from home report. What's your daughter's name?
It's Bernadette.
Where did she say she was going?
She didn't. She just she was just talking to her about, because there'd been a row and that's why she comes to grandparents. And he just said, look, we'll go home. We can talk about things at home. And she went, I'm not going home. I've told you. And she just got out and ran.
Okay.
And he pulled over to roll a cigarette.
Fine, but then you knew where she was, or you thought you knew where she was. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Where did you think she has been for the last couple of days?
Well, she messaged me and said, Luke, which is her ex-boyfriend.
B's mother informed police that she had been texting her daughter after she ran away, pleading for her to come home, because she was worried for her safety. She told her she missed her and needed her back, to which B replied she was fine and was at Luke's house, her ex-boyfriend. However, when her ex-boyfriend said he had not seen her, the family began to panic. As search efforts initiated, Sarah became actively involved, handing out flyers and pleading with the public. She also posted the following statement on social media. "We have no contact with her since 1 a.m. on July the 20th, where she texted me to say she would be home. None of her friends have heard from her, and she has not access to social media." Scott, her stepfather, also wrote a heartbreaking post on Facebook pleading for her to come home, adding that he loved her on the 8th of September. However, despite their pleas, 7 weeks later, B was still missing. She had no personal items or money and had not access to social media, which was extremely out of the ordinary. Detective Inspector Justine Jenkins, Senior Investigating Officer, said the following.
It's just a tragic case, really. We still don't know what happened to Bernadette. The fact that she was a 17-year-old girl, 17-year-olds these days are never without their phones or social media. And like I say, for that just to stop all of a sudden from the time that her stepfather goes and picks her up and for her not to be seen again, I think that's just what swayed it, really.
The police team had exhausted searches in Gunthorpe, Newborough and other parts of Peterborough and Cambridgeshire, but to no avail. The story of her running away voluntarily began to unravel. Bernadette's friends and extended family doubted she would have left home without any of her belongings or contacting them. The police also became suspicious and began searching a family home and lock-up garage owned by Scott's parents. During the searches, police discovered a diary that belonged to B. The diary contained personal entries revealing deep concerns about her challenging home life, including a strained relationship with her stepfather Scott. On the 16th of July, the day before she went missing, she wrote, "Told my mum about my dad and the abuse. She called me a liar and threatened to kill me if I told the police. What kind of parent wouldn't believe their daughter?" Other entries described how she had been violated, detailing the abuse she had endured at Scott's hands for several years. Sadly, B had also disclosed that Scott had filmed her getting changed, but her mother did not believe her. B was sent to her stepfather's parents' house for some breathing space. Scott's parents later corroborated that when B arrived, she was visibly upset, but did not speak about the details of what had happened. Despite B's fear of Scott and the consequence of speaking out against him, Scott was sent to collect her the following day by her mother, a detail that investigators found sinister. The discovery of B's diary, along with the fact that Scott was the last person to see her alive, raised significant suspicions about his involvement in her disappearance. Subsequently, the Cambridgeshire police described Bernadette as a nobody investigation. They stated the following: "Due to the length of time Bernadette has been missing and concerns she may have come to some harm, we have made the decision to declare this a murder investigation." As the investigation emerged, other key pieces of evidence came to light, including Scott's phone was switched off between 11:23 a.m. and 12:54 p.m. for an hour and 31 minutes. Investigators believed he had killed and disposed of her body during this time. On his route home, he contacted Sarah, B's mother, and talked to her for just under 10 minutes. There is no recording of this conversation, but investigators believe he told her what had happened. Furthermore, forensic analysis revealed that Sarah and Scott had sent messages from B's phone after her death to create an illusion that she was still alive. One of those messages was sent to Bernadette's friend 30 minutes after Scott rang Sarah stating, "I ran away, I don't want to be in trouble for lying." Investigators also discovered that on the morning of July the 18th, 2020, before picking Bernadette up from the parents' house, Scott Walker had visited a lock-up garage in Walton. This location soon became a focal point in the investigation, as GPS data from Scott's and Sarah's smartwatches revealed both of them had visited the lock-up garage multiple times between July the 18th and July the 20th, days before the police were notified that Bernadette was missing. Furthermore, her friends who had received the text messages from Bernadette's phone noticed the language was unlike her usual style, suggesting someone else sent them. The altered messages, visits to the lock-up garage and changes to Bernadette's social media passwords all pointed to Scott and Sarah's attempt to cover up the truth. During questioning, investigators noted that they were evasive with Scott changing his testimony about the location B supposedly ran to, claiming he had difficulty remembering. On September the 14th, 2020, Scott and Sarah Walker were formally charged with perverting the course of justice and preventing a lawful burial. Scott was also charged with sexual abuse of a child and controlling and coercive behaviour. As the investigation into Bernadette's disappearance intensified, Sarah, fearing her own implication, began cooperating with the police. In a dramatic turn of events, she turned against Scott, making a series of startling allegations. She told officers, on the day B went missing, she was phoning Scott and his phone was going straight to voicemail. When Scott called back about 1:45, he was out of breath. When she probed why was his phone off, he said, "It's dead. It dropped into the footwell of the car." She told investigators, "I don't know what happened in that car, I just know what happened afterward. He forced me to send some messages," referring to the messages she sent to B's friend and grandparents. Sarah also revealed another sickening detail. B had sent text messages to her graphically describing the abuse she had suffered at Scott's hands. Sadly, she did not comfort or protect her daughter. In her testimony, Sarah described Scott as a dangerous and violent individual, claiming that she acted out of fear. "This was a man who threatened me, threatened to kill my partner and slit my dog's throat," framing herself as a victim of coercion. Adding to the complexity of her claims, investigators uncovered disturbing search history on Sarah's phone. Among the unsettling queries was, "I think my partner knows where my missing child is." These revelations painted a troubling picture, but they also raised questions. Was Sarah genuinely trying to assist investigators, or was she attempting to deflect the blame onto Scott to protect herself? As the investigation deepened, the mounting evidence against Scott led to a turning point. He was formally charged with Bernadette's murder. The trial for Scott and Sarah began in June 2021 at Cambridge Crown Court. A close friend of B, Warren Naylor, testified that she had confided in him about being sexually abused by her stepfather over a 7-year period. Disturbingly, the day after her disappearance, Warren received messages from B's Instagram account claiming that she had lied about the abuse. Prosecutors argued that these messages were sent by Bernadette's mother as part of a cover-up to deflect suspicion from Scott. Prosecutors also argued Scott killed B to prevent her from reporting years of sexual abuse during the 91 minutes his phone was switched off, in attempts to conceal the location. In Sarah's case, the prosecution argued that she knowingly covered up the crime. She fabricated the story about her daughter running away to help maintain a facade. She sent misleading messages from B's phone to create the illusion that she was still alive. On July 26, 2021, Scott Walker was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 31 years for the murder of Bernadette Walker. The prisoner's disclosure of information about Victims Act 2020, also known as Helen's Law, was a factor in the length of Scott's sentence. This law's intent is to ensure murderers and paedophiles who decline to disclose information on their victims, such as where their bodies are, face longer jail sentences. Judge Justice McGowan said that his refusal to reveal the location of B's body means she can't be shown the respect she deserves. She added, "Cruelest of all is likely to mean some member of her family and friends will go on hoping she might be alive and might someday come back into their lives." On the other hand, Sarah was sentenced to 6 years in prison for perverting the course of justice and aiding Scott in covering up the crime. However, her sentence sparked widespread outrage, with many arguing that her actions or lack thereof in response to the abuse were deeply inadequate and disturbing. One of the most devastating aspects of this case is that despite search efforts continuing, using dogs, diving equipment and drones in different areas, to date, B's body has never been found. Even after Scott's conviction, he's refused to reveal what he did with her or where he dumped her remains, denying her loved ones the closure they so desperately deserve. Police suspect that Bernadette was strangled by Scott without a body or a confession. This has to be proven. Tragically, Scott Walker died in prison on December 22nd, 2023 at HM Prison, Full Sutton. The cause of his death remains undisclosed, but with him he has taken the heartbreaking secret of B's final resting place to his grave, and the case remains open till this day. I pray that Bernadette receives the justice she so deeply deserves, and that her soul finds the peace it was cruelly denied. She was a young girl with her whole life ahead of her, and the unimaginable cruelty she endured must never be forgotten. The years of abuse compounded by her mother's disbelief are heart-wrenching, but what Sarah did afterwards by covering for Scott is truly sickening. I pray that one day her body is found and she is finally laid to rest with the dignity, love and respect that was stolen from her life. Thank you for watching my video. As a new content creator, your support means so much, so please don't forget to like and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.